Hey, good evening. This is Christy. This is my recording for week 7, group 1. Um, Starting out with the first question that we had to do, looking at Shen, the article, and looking at his quality versus utility on the first page. The first thing that I really thought about was going back to a couple weeks ago when we were reading the Nelson and Kralintensky Critical Paradigm article, and found something here where we're talking about quality research and the importance of that. And on page 282, they say, on the whole, however, critical research tends to use qualitative methods either on their own or in conjunction with quantitative methods. As we pointed out in the earlier chapter, qualitative methods are particularly valuable for giving voice to disadvantaged people and in providing the context of understanding people's experience. So I took that and I looked at Shen's first page, and when he's talking about homelessness, I think that you see those two quality examples and then also the utility examples that he's really looking at. So for utility, I would list those examples being his measurements of his variables, the statistics that he's using for his research, how he went through and actually determined the homeless families in order to count. On the flip side, when we look at quality and that qualitative method of research, this is more in actually what he chose to examine with these families. So he has a list here of behavioral disorders, impoverished social networks, and loss of affordable housing. And those are things that, while they can be measured, when you talk about um, homeless families, as he does in the third column here, homeless families have high rates of many characteristics associated with enduring poverty. Things like single parenthood, poor education, dependence on welfare. Um, all of those things that he's listing are things that would be observed from a qualitative standpoint that go into the measurement and verification for the utility aspect of it. I think obviously with an issue like homelessness, it does require that observation that you get from the qualitative aspect of research as well as, just crunching numbers and measurements and things of that sort. Looking at the question that we have for group 2, I'm sorry, group 1, but question 2 here, based on the videos that we watched, the question is on how thinking like an ecosystem would be beneficial. I would counter that question with asking how, if you are conducting a proper experiment, how you could get by without thinking like an ecosystem. I think the example that was given with not recognizing the impact of um, the um, DDT when it was sprayed with all of the various different living components that were affected is a really good example, and I think one that we can look at really, any project that we may be working at, is that if you're actually going into a community, you need to look at how your project or your actions could possibly trigger a chain reaction of unexpected consequences that you didn't realize. Um, I think that we need to understand that when we are conducting community research, we aren't just necessarily affecting one variable, that humans and non-humans, animals, are very complex, and we have to recognize the fact that altering or triggering one change in a variable actually has a domino effect, or could, and one that needs to be examined prior to proceeding with that research. Um, Giving this example, or giving an example to my personal experience and thinking like an ecosystem. I broke down a project that I've done into the stages that were talked about on the PowerPoint. And so starting out at the demo level, the individual, I had a project in order to help low-income families in rental home situations with their overall utility bills. We have, at least in our area, a problem when low-income folks often rent homes that are not kept up to the best standards. And while these people are looking for rental options that are very cheap and affordable, they often wind up in the hot summer months and very cold winter months with extremely high utility bills that they cannot afford to pay because the homes are not efficient. So that was the problem that I identified that I wanted to do. There were several options that I had in order to target this, but I had to reach out beyond the scope of my own individual work. Looking at the micro level, the first thing that I did was reach out to other members of my immediate community within other city departments, reaching out to our neighborhood and community development, and working with them was able to pull together a energy efficiency kit program, as well as also some financial assistance for qualifying customers. Moving up to the meso level, we had to work with our sister, agency, which is our county government, and pull together the financial resources that we could find in order to be most effective with our program to purchase energy efficiency kits or find them from grants, but also work with HUD and the other programs that the county had resources to that we didn't. And then moving up to EXO, which would be expanding that to the next layer, we had to go outside of government, bring in community agencies, Crisis Assistance Ministry, which is one of ours, and also other churches that are working really hand in hand with the people who are affected most. And so through this, we were able to target folks that are already seeking resources for assistance, whether it be seeking, extra food. Folks folks that are, looking for assistance, and especially with these agencies, some of them already have options where they can help to pay for high utility bills in the winter to keep people from having their heat cut off. So they also were very helpful in our program development in helping to set criteria of qualification and who would apply and how finances would be distributed. The last two levels were a little bit harder with my own, example, but thinking about them, I say the macro level, really looking at political climate and how that changes, and how legislation that happens on, greater than just my community here in Gastonia or in my region next to Charlotte, that state and federal legislations and programs have a direct impact on what's happening with this target community that I was trying to help, whether it be changes in minimum wage standards, Medicare. All of these things have an impact on the amount of money that folks are able to bring in. So that actually is something that is a contributing factor, but one that's bigger than just what I was able to deal with. Looking at the geo level and more globally, and how issues on a global level affect my program to help citizens here in my community. Um, you know, from a world perspective, we have issues such as climate change. We have issues, we can get into global warming or food shortages or anything else that's going on globally that at the end of the day, if folks in my community can't go to the grocery store and get, let's say, fresh vegetables at an affordable price because of a drought condition in the Midwest or wherever else, that has an impact. When prices go up in meat, that has an impact. So those are things that are being affected from a global level. Gas prices certainly would affect this community. So that's kind of how breaking it down, and I will say that we actually very successfully were able to distribute using our community resources, energy efficiency kits, and teach people how to use them, as well as developing a program that provided financial assistance to those folks who, just for their own circumstances of where they lived, were not able, to afford their heating or cooling bills in the extreme summer and winter months. So that's my program, and I look forward to hearing other examples and hope everybody's had a good Wednesday. Bye.